Alright YouTube, so we're looking at the 2002 Polaris Trailblazer 250. So far I've made some videos of taking off this black cover that covers up to two clutches. I've pulled off the transmission clutch and the primary clutch, I guess secondary clutch and primary clutch, and I've loosened up a bunch of bolts so I can kind of pick up with that. Looking over here, there we've got down there, we've got the belt, that black cover, the two clutches, and then on this side I haven't really taken anything off yet. I've just loosened up some of the bolts, and we'll get to that in a second. So this video is going to be of taking apart the or getting the starter off. I made a video last weekend. This past weekend I just uploaded not too long ago of kind of the aftermath of what I did when I replaced the starter on another four-wheeler, just like this one. It was a 2000 model. Then I walked around and talked about which bolts and all that kind of stuff I took off. But I'm actually going to take it apart this time so you can see it. The only thing I'm nervous about, I'm not sure if it's going to work out. On the other one I had the skid plate off. This one I got this thing up on the lift, and I got that block of wood there kind of blocking the skid plate. So I'm going to try to keep that on so I don't have to move the four-wheeler. You can see I got it jacked up off the ground. So hopefully once I get this cover out of the way I can get the starter out of the way. I will give you a heads up, on eBay I found a starter for it's like $58, free shipping. I thought it was a good deal. On the other Trailblazer that I put it on, it sounded awful. It sounded awful, and it didn't work half the time. So it's kind of a waste of money. Alright, so this four-wheeler, if you haven't watched the other videos involving it, the crank got like a roaring noise to it. And you're not going to be able to hear it. But it makes a roaring noise, so I think the seals are bad. And if you notice, it is it is all wet up in here. We'll get a better look in a second. All back in there is wet out here, so I guess the seals have gone bad, or the bearings. So I'm taking this apart so I can get that fixed and get the noise out of it. So what I've done, like I've already said, I've taken the cover off, taken the clutches off. Once you get the clutches out of the way, you gotta get this black cover out of the way. So that's what I'm gonna move on to now. Down here, there's a 10mm bolt that goes into the black cover. I'm gonna pull that out. This one actually has like a little rubber piece that goes along with it. Alright, got that in the bucket. I've got 3 bolts that I've taken out back here. They are 10mm also. They bolt into the into brackets on the clutch. I've already got those pretty much taken out. Each one's got a little washer that goes along with it. Don't forget the washer. So there's 3 of them. Alright, and then pretty much all I've got to do now is here around the motor part there are 4 screws, and each screw has a piece of metal tab bent onto it. I've bent 3 of them out of the way. I just got to bend this one out of the way. So I figured I'd do that while I was on camera. So I've just been using a flathead and a hammer. Just bend that tab out of the way, and I'll zoom in so you can see what the tabs look like. Let's see. So you got that tab, just kind of holds the screw in place. Now in the other four-wheeler, the screws were real easy to get out, so we'll see. Watch since I'm making this video. This one be tough. Nope, that was easy. That one's loose. Yeah, they're barely even in there, it feels like, and they're real short. That's the length on them. So they're very short screws. They just help hold this plastic cover, the back side of it, in place on the motor. And yeah, and everything here is soaking wet. So now I was getting ready to respond. There was another guy, I can't remember his YouTube name, but there was a guy that watched my last video on doing the starter who said that he recently rode a 2007 model Trailblazer 250 and how it was the most comfortable four-wheeler he's ever been on. And I was going to respond, I didn't get a chance, but I was going to respond and just say that these four-wheelers, while they're not the fastest and most high-performance four-wheeler out there, if you're looking for a four-wheeler that's good for you know, your wife, your kids who are just learning how to ride. Plate comes off. So there's a little plate that's kind of holding this rubber thing in place. And the whole thing just comes apart. So get that out of the way. If you're looking for a four-wheeler that's good for anybody, these Trailblazers, you can't beat them. And this one's got the aftermarket hot seat exhaust. Had different air, no air box. It had this air filter on it. I mean, this thing is a lot faster than a stock one, and the other one that I've got right now, same thing. It's got the FMF full exhaust, and that one is a lot faster. I mean, these things are great four wheelers for people that are just beginning, and you can soup them up too, so they're not bad at all. All right, so I got this side done, and if you notice all this stuff that I've kind of piled up here, this starter design, I'm not an engineer, but this starter design where they have it is an awful location because there's nothing but trash and sand all down in this area. And this four-wheeler has actually been power washing it not too long ago. That's just a tough area to get to, and here's the actual starter. And I think the four-wheeler that I replaced it in last time, the thing, it was just piled up, just dirt caked on the starter. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, and actually let me go back, so hopefully you watched some of this video. I didn't do it for this video because I'd already done it, but there's no battery on the four-wheeler. So prior to you messing with the starter, you probably should, or you should, not probably, you should take your disconnect your battery so that you don't mess up any of the electronics by shorting it out. But basically from this side, all that's left to get the starter out is you've got this bracket here. These two bolts, my fingers are on, are the only ones holding on from this side. So I'm gonna, those actually go in the starter, and then the bracket mounts above it. So I'm gonna actually take the bracket mounts loose. It's a 10mm socket. Pull these out. So there's one, just short little bolt. And I'm gonna drop it in my bucket. Always looking for good buckets to put parts in so I don't drop stuff, especially if you're messing with a carburetor. It's nice to have a bucket with the top on it so you can make sure you don't drop all your screws and jets and stuff. But yeah, this thing, it's a mess. I mean, like I said, this four-wheeler has been recently cleaned, and I mean, it's a pile of sand there. So here's the other one. So those two are out. So pretty much the starter is unhooked from this side. I'm gonna unhook it from the other side, and once that cable's unhooked from it, we'll be ready to go. So let's go ahead and move around to the other side. On the other side, I started removing this cover. This cover's got like a star screw in it. And I'll back up a little bit. So it's a T25. There's a little star pattern screwdriver bit. I've already started taking these out. There's 4 of them to hold this cover. I'm just going to get the cover out of the way. There's 2 in the front and 2 in the back. So I'll go ahead and get the back ones. Yeah, these four-wheelers are fun. I've got 2 right now. I sold one last weekend, so that's 3 that I've had like in the last month. And I've had 2 other ones the last couple of years. My cousin's got one, the first ones I had, and then my brother's got the other one. My niece rides that all the time. But these things are they're easy. No shifting gear, just throw it first and go, or forward and go. All right, so that cover's out of the way. I'm gonna set that back here also. In the back of all my other pile of stuff. Put these screws in the bucket. All right, so like I said earlier, I don't even know how much you can see. Let's see. I mean, it's just a pile of trash, sand. So when I get this motor out, I'm gonna have to clean all that out real good. Oh, that looks like a bird's nest down in there. All right, so the next thing I need to do is I need to, and I haven't loosened these up yet. I need to get this cover, the pull starter cover off. So I'm gonna be taking out these bolts, the outer bolts. It's probably about 5 or 6 of them. So just bear with me for a second while I get these out. Yeah, I've had one of the Trailblazer my cousin has. I made like a 4-part series on putting a new top end on it, and I've had a lot of people send me messages wanting me to make videos of doing the starter or where's the starter located at. And I never really made a video until last week. Like I said, that one was like an aftermath video where I kind of walked around after I did it, just talking about what bolt holes and stuff bolts had to take out to get to the starter. So I figured since I'm taking this motor off, might as well take a little bit of a detour and make a video for you. We got one underneath here. And these are 10. Look, I think there's one that's like an 8, a little bit of an odd size. All right, so we got 3 out so far, and these are different sizes, so you'll have to pay attention as you pull them out. You can look at the thickness of where it's going to figure out which ones are long and which ones short, but they are different. So I've got 3 out so far. 1, 2, 3. Got one back here in the back, kind of at the bottom. This one's a little bit more difficult to get to just because of the master cylinder for the rear brakes. So I apologize, my hand's in the way. I'll be done in just a second. So these are just the bolts that hold the housing on for the pull start. That was a long one. Alright, then just above it we got one more, it looks like it's a 10mm one, and I think I got an 8mm I gotta pull out. And that should be it, and then I should be able to get right to the starter and finish pulling the starter out. Which overall is not that bad of a job. When I did the other four-wheeler, I had no idea exactly where I was going or where the starter came apart. And I had the other bolts out. Actually, I was to this point, and we were trying to bang it out and didn't realize there were 2 bolts on this side as well, underneath this cover. So I heard a lot of people leave some of the bolts out when they put them back because they're difficult to get to. Basically, just gotta get the primary clutch out and get that black cover off, and then we'll get this pull starter off. Alright, so I got one more to do. There's one up here, it's an 8mm. I don't know why they switched it for this one. But that should be it. And I'm actually gonna put that one back in when I'm done, so I remember this is the right size. It's the one right next to this little plug at the top of the Alright, so it was a little bit different kind of bolt. Alright, so it's not coming loose. Let me see if they're all out. Let me get a mallet. Of course, I don't see the mallet. Alright, so just needed to pop that loose. Comes right off. Alright. And actually, if you look, there's oil right there, and there's actually oil pouring out of the bottom of the motor by the starter. Sludge and everything in there, so it's probably bottom end's probably got some other issues to it. But there's the Bendix right there. So this should just pull out. Should pull out. Maybe not. Alright, it might go out through the other side easier. Let me get the camera back in place. Alright, so there's 2 bolts here. One up in there, and then one in the front. They're going to be 10mm. Yep, 10mm. I take those 2 out. It's loose. This four-wheeler, I've got it strapped down, but it's not very tight, so every time I bump it, the thing starts moving. And just from taking those, loosening those up, you can see I got oil and stuff all over here. So Yeah, I guess it's a gas mixture. I don't know what else it would be in the motor, but. And to be honest, I don't know how much is supposed to be down here in this area. I think somebody said before, if you got that oil and gas mixture down by the starter, and you got some seals and stuff that are bad. So that could be the case here as well. And before I forget, I'm gonna go ahead and put this 8mm bolt back in the hole where it was, so I don't get that one mixed up later. I'm gonna also get these other bolts in my bucket. I'm gonna keep the starter one out for a second, just so I don't get them mixed up, because it looks very similar to the ones holding the pool starter on. Alright, we got that one out. They should probably both be the same length. Yeah, they're both the same. And I'm going to put these actually in my pool starter. That way I remember they go with the starter. Alright, so the starter should, theoretically, I'm going to try pulling it out from the other side. So we'll see what happens. All the bolts to hold it in are loose. So let's see here. So I'm going to grab it here. There we go. Pulled it loose. I might have to unhook this cable first. Let me get a screwdriver. Alright, so the starter's loose. And the Bendix is coming out to this side. The gear's on the other side. Now the only problem, and what I'm doing right now is I'm getting this rubber boot off of the bolt for the wires. The only problem is these boots are always dry rotted. Just bear with me a second. I'm gonna end up breaking my screwdriver, I think. Now, I'm going to pull the Bendix out of the starter. That way I can get a little more room. That might be easier than I thought. Alright, the Bendix is out. So it should give me a little bit more movement. Starter. Wait a second. Oh, of course I got all this gas smell. Alright, so got the gasket. There's the Bendix. It just fits into it. This starter worked fine, so I'm planning on reusing it. So now the starter has a little bit more play in moving it around. But I still gotta get that wire off. So I'm gonna clean it. I'm gonna end up cleaning this thing all up. But now I gotta get this wire off. Let me using my elbow and my forearm. I get that red boot off, and I'll be done. It's just, I'm gonna have to put something else on it. It's so brittle, it's just falling apart. You get a pair of pliers. Now I'm actually going to a basketball game in a little bit, and I was trying not to get too messy, but now I got gas and oil and everything all over my hands from that thing leaking like it was. I'm gonna go to the game and be smelling like gas and like the whole time. Man. There we go. Alright. So let me grab my 10 10 millimeter. Alright. So I got my 10 millimeter. There's just one little nut that comes off. Alright, just unhook the wire, and that's it. So the starter is out. It would just be the reverse process to get it back in. Before I put this one back in, when I'm done with the motor, I'm going to clean it all up. As you can see, it's got stuff all over it. But that's it. That's starter removal. Polaris Trailblazer 250. Thanks for watching Bigjermsgarage. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time.